Boston, New York looking to clinch a conference finals berth for the first time since 2000. 25 years later, the Pacers are looming again. On the other side, the Celtics is trying to stay alive with no Jason Tatum for the long term. Derek White came out the gates red hot. Pulled up the triple. He made 4 threes in the first quarter alone. So he was doing his best to pick up the slack with no Tatum. Later in the first, it's 21-16. Boston up, and Josh Hart, he hit the deck and drew blood. Luke Cornett, the elbow inadvertently catches Hart just below his eyebrow. You'd get care on the bench with Hart, would return to the game. Second quarter, you got Jalen against Jalen. Brunson and Brown. Starting with Brown. The game tied at 44. He knocks it down. Celtics up 2. Next possession, Brunson corner 3. Over Brown. Knicks back up by 1. A couple possessions later, Knicks trailing by 2. Brunson to Hart for a 3. Knicks take the lead again. Celtics down 4. 3 minutes to go. White with the 3 on the feed from Brown. A couple possessions later, Brown for a triple. Got it. Tied at 57. Next possession for New York. Brunson backs down Peyton Pritchard. Steps through. Lays it in. And is fouled. He scored and assisted on 27 of the Knicks' 59 points in the first half. Brown scored and assisted on 34 of 59 for Boston. It was tied at 59 at the half. Now it's 65, even no more after the 3 from White. More from Derek White. First player in Celtics postseason history with at least 6 threes in consecutive games. He finished with 34 in this one. Celtics up 13, less than 3 to go in the third. Cornett comes over, swats it. He had 5 blocks in the third quarter alone. It's tied for the most by a Celtics player in a quarter in the last 25 postseasons. How about him at the other end? Flushes it home. Luke Cornett had the Garden rocking. 108-85. What's better is more from Cornett. Just a block party all by himself. Cornett, the 4th Celtics player with at least 7 blocks in a playoff game since 1973-74. Next possession for the C's. How about a lob for the man? 10 points, 9 rebounds, 7 blocks. Jalen Brown with 26, 12, and 8. Boston stays alive for a game 6.
I know it's easy to kind of write things off. Obviously, unfortunate what happened to JT, but we still got basketball to be played. You know, I believe in this group, so, you know, don't count us out just yet.
What disappointed you most tonight about the performance?
A lot. A lot.
How important is it to get the W in this very next game at home?
I mean, that's just such a stupid question. I mean, every game that you want to win, bro. Like, there's no added anything. Like, every game you want to go out there and win. It doesn't matter where, if it's at home or away. Like, all that question is stupidity.
Well, the Celtics have been living and dying by the 3-ball all series long. The 2 wins, Boston's averaging 21 threes per game and shooting 47% from beyond the arc. You compare that to the 3 losses, they've shot just 29%.
And before they went over the game plan for Game 5, Jalen Brown and Al Horford spoke to the team, talked about how they needed to react. They talked about the importance to send the message to Jason. And then on Wednesday, the team got a message from Tatum after he was recovering from his Achilles surgery, encouraging them, telling them that he would be bouncing back, and he was hoping that they would play great without him tonight. And you definitely saw the Celtics play emotionally at times. It didn't have the smoothest start to the game, but in talking to their players afterwards, they do think that they were able to bounce back quickly after getting that message from Tatum and also hearing from their veteran teammates.
Yeah, you could sense the urgency that the Celtics had on their roster. Jalen Brown had a career high in assists. Derek White had 34 points. But why do you think the biggest factor in this game was a backup big man?
Yeah, I really do think the turning point in this game was when Joe Mazzulla went to Luke Cornett to start the second half. He was a complete difference maker at the defensive end in the third quarter with the 5 block shots. Now, Mazzulla said that he made the decision because Kristaps Porzingis, who has been dealing with this upper respiratory illness for several months, could not breathe, and that it was really a decision made about the health, not made as a strategy decision. However the decision was made, the strategy made a huge difference. Cornette said that he was advised at halftime he was getting ready to come out and start. He just put his mindset on trying to get as many shots altered as he could. And he said sometimes you have a hot hand when you're shooting, and sometimes you have a hot hand when you're blocking shots. You see the ball well and things just come your way. He said that happened, and it was a big moment, and he was stunned when he walked off the court at the end of the third quarter and was requested to do the in-between quarter interview. And he said he was tired and he wasn't as witty and charming as he wished he would. That was his own.
He is Windy to fully recover from an injury of this magnitude. He could get back on the court, not next season, but thereafter, the season after. And I think that, you know, he could be somewhat productive. To be himself, the Jason Tatum that we've been seeing all of these years, to come close to that, I think it's going to take a legit 2 years before he can get back. I'm talking about strictly from a health perspective. In that period of time, you already have a $300 million player. Suddenly, remember how we were all speculating that, you know what, you got these two guys on your roster, somebody's going to have to go. Well, that may not necessarily be the case now, because if you're the Boston Celtics, okay, well, who's going to replace Jaylen Brown? Because you can't just easily let him go. You could do that when you thought about Jason Tatum being there and available for you. But now that that's not going to be the case for the foreseeable future, all of a sudden, Brown is in the eye of the storm. And then when you look at the rest of the team, look, Porzingis has health issues now. You really think Porzingis is going to be around in 2 years? I'm not sure he's going to be a Boston Celtics in 2 years. I'm not sure about anything right now, outside of the fact that I'm looking at Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday. Okay, they could be around a couple of years from now when Jason Tatum come back, but how productive are they going to be? Jaylen Brown was getting his knee treated coming into the playoffs, and Drew Holiday is better than solid, and him and Derek White are both champions, but you just don't know. I think the Boston Celtics, I think the best and the safest thing to say is that the Boston Celtics, as presently constructed, what we saw throughout this season is no more. You won't see that starting five together again. Pieces will be moved. How they'll move it, what level of productivity, what level of compensation, rather, they'll get in return, we shall see. But I think that what's at stake for the Celtics right now is, simply put, their future. Because what we've seen from them is no more. Because Tatum's not going to be there. By the time he comes back ready to go, I don't think the team as presently constructed will remain intact.
Wendy?
Yeah, so throughout this entire season, there's kind of been this storm off the horizon with the Celtics. And frankly, Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens and Wick Grusbach, their governor, have done a very good job of keeping the focus on the season, which the Celtics were great. They had 61 wins. They looked like they were a strong favorite to repeat as champions. They didn't let this bother them at all. At least I never saw it, or I never felt it bother them, that they had this financial cliff next year. And the reason it's a financial cliff is that they hit the repeater tax, and Jason Tatum's contract comes on. Tatum signed the $300 million extension. It comes on board. That wallops them into the tune of about between 450 and 500 million. For 2 or 3 years, the Celtics have known that in 2025 that was coming. And they knew that they sort of had this window, which is the reason why they brought everybody back to go all forward with it. And they wanted to handle this business after the season. Well, because of the Tatum injury, now all of a sudden it comes in focus and it's on people's minds. Because I agree with you, Stephen A. I don't think that you can bring this team back next year, not because of their competitive nature and how they've been built. One of the things that's amazing about this team is that they're all together, they're beautifully constructed, and they're all signed. They're actually all under contract with the exception of Al Horford. That's a beautiful job by the front office. And then there's the variable that there's a new ownership group. We don't know how these owners are going to spend money. What we know is that they're going to be buying it for $6 billion. And that it's taking a coalition to buy it. So there's just all this uncertainty. I would not sit here and tell you I know what's going to happen. But I know this. You can't spend $500 million on a team that's not a championship team. And without Jason Tatum next year, which is what you have to assume, I don't think they're a championship team.
3 blocks, he was 9 of 16, 7 of 13, plus 22nd, his second 30-point playoff game this playoffs. Jaylen Brown was sensational as well. Very efficient, and 26 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds. The Knicks lead 3-2. Game 6 is Friday. what do your Knicks need to do to make sure they don't have to go back to Boston for Game 7?
Well, I think the antenna should be up because Taylor wasn't playing. Brown, he was like a magician tonight. And he got everybody involved. He got Pritchard off the bench. Luke Cornett came in, dominated off the bench. I think, that was 2 X factors off the bench. And Bridges and OG, they got to crank the car up early. It's cold outside. You got to crank the car up. You can't drive the car while it's cold. So the Knicks going to have to come out, get more sense of urgency. I think that Towns going to have to play better. And they got to know. You got to set them out the 6th game. Going home, you forget about Game 5. You lost. They dominate the whole game, went up 20 again, 24 points. And, I think Tim should have took the guys out with 5 minutes going to 4th. You wasn't coming back 22 points in 5 minutes. But, Bronson fouled out. Drew Holiday stepped his game up. I mean, they came to play. And one of their best players, like Curry was missing for Golden State, Taylor missing for Boston, but Boston showed up. They showed up and showed out.
You got Jaylen Brown had his most efficient game of this series. He was 9 of 17, 3 of 5 from the 3-point line. He was 26 plus 28. Derek White, 9 of 16, 7 of 13, 9 of 11 from the free throw line, plus 26. Holiday, plus 14. He was plus 23. You got Al Horford, who was plus 11. And then you mentioned Luke Cornett came off the bench. He gave you 10, 9, and 7 blocks. And Pritchard was plus 24. He had one of the highest plus minus. He was 5 of 14, 17 big points. So they got the contributions that they needed in order to keep the series alive. We expected Mikal Bridges. Remember the other night, Ocho, how he went off? Remember OG, how he went off? Carl Anthony Towns played extremely well. Cat played okay, 5 of 11. I don't think he was aggressive enough. I mean, he had shot 9 free throws, 5 of 11 shots.
Well, he got 8 of them in the last 6 minutes. It didn't count.
Okay.
So you got to get him in the beginning of the third, fourth quarter, and
put pressure on the Celtics.
Cat got to come out and put some pressure on KP. He hurt. Luke came in and changed the whole game. And when he changed the game, blocking shots, keeping the ball alive, making them take tough shots coming to the basket. And Robinson was playing well tonight. He made his free throws.
He was perfect from the free throw line.
Yeah, he made like 6 out of 7, something like that.
6. So
he showed up, played well. It basically just they let him get too far ahead. I mean, how many times you got to run down the horse? The horse faster than you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ocho. What'd you like about what you saw? Because I didn't think the Celtics. Like hell, y'all was losing to the Knicks with Jason Tatum, and he had 42 in that bleacher.
Yeah.
And so I don't think they was gonna do anything. But Derek White and Jaylen Brown set the tone early, and then their role players came in. Luke Cornett, like I said, he gave you 10, 9, and 7. Pritchard did what he normally does, and so now I got my contributors. They're contributing.
But listen, the contributors contributing on the offensive end, but we need to talk about on the defensive end on what they did. They stifled the damn offense for the Knicks. They made everything when it came to Jalen Brunson getting himself in rhythm and creating shots and being able to pass the ball. They suffocated my dog all goddamn game.
They started. You see where they started on. Not to cut you off, Ocho. You see it. They started on him. They put Jaylen Brown on him. Somebody with a little extra length. Because normally they was going with Holiday, they was going with Derek White. They put JB on him. JB did an excellent job. He's a little 6'7", long limb, caused a little bit more problems. He was 7 of 17, 1 of 4 from the 3-point line. Go ahead, Ocho.
I'm just obviously from an offensive standpoint, Brunson couldn't get himself in rhythm. Then also it seemed like every time they were trying to run plays, it seemed like every shot was contested. Every shot or running the offense, it was very difficult. For them to do. And on the other end, in transition, offensively, the goddamn Celtics was hitting all the goddamn shots. So when they did go up 15 and went up 20 or whatever it may have been, it made it that much more difficult for the Knicks to even get back into the game. Oh, they couldn't get back into the game because defensively.
Well, my thing is, you let Holiday get back into the game in the beginning of the fourth quarter, hit 2 big threes in a row. You brought him down to 15-14, and he come back, bam, bam, bam. So it was going to be a dog fight that you ain't going to win this one tonight. Because Boston was they was making shots, like you said, and the role players played excellent. anything can happen in the course of a game. You know, you don't want nobody to go down, but still, you still got to come out. You guys got to show up. The Knicks starting five got to show up. Only 3 guys showed up tonight. You need all 5 of them to play. It's a band. Everybody got to be on their point. Everybody got